Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, everybody, whatever part of the world you're currently listening to our Basic Economics podcast, as well as watching our video blog on our Basic Economics TV YouTube channel. My name is Al Mina, concept author of Basic Economics, the utilization of the social media platform in economic development worldwide. So my background is in emerging and frontier markets of Central and Eastern Europe. I basically promote trade and commercial development with countries that are, of friendly ties with the U.S. and, you know, are basic allies in the region. So with that said, I typically don't, opine so much regarding what's going on with the war in Ukraine, but things are just becoming very, very strange, in my opinion. Um, one one reason that I find things are very becoming very strange is we're not getting enough, coverage from the Russian side in our news market industry in the U.S. And I'm having to fish out valuable and important information pertaining to the war and how the Russian public view this war overall with Ukraine and how Americans are seeing this war may be an escalation or provocation, whatever it is. It's really hard to say because we're not really getting enough coverage from the Russian side. We, tend to get, you know, minute by minute coverage on the Ukrainian side of the war, but not so much from the Russian side, which is really hard to, figure out what's going on because we are not getting both sides of the stories. So yeah, and on top of that, while this war persists, regular Americans and regular Europeans are having to flip the bill, via their taxes. And I mean, if you talk to a regular American and regular European that works from a 9 to 5 job, day in and day out, paying their taxes, trying to just make ends meet, and their taxes um, are being sent overseas to countries that are not directly connected to the U.S. There's quite a bit of hardship, economic hardship among the regular American population in the U.S. Some of them are struggling paying rent, paying their mortgage, paying their student loan, paying, basic necessities in order for them to survive. And yet, we're constantly sending money to, a country that have decided, to engage in a war themselves. And, and what makes it interesting is it was a war that could have been prevented, okay, at the very onset. I mean, there's so many people that have opined on ways to have de-escalated the war. Uh, you know, 2 years ago, some of them are no longer with us just because of their, overall dedication to wanting to uh, stop the war and save lives. I mean, till to this day, there's a lot of collateral damages because of the war. There's quite a bit of people dying because of this war that could have been prevented 2 years ago. How we decided to embark on a diplomatic solution pertaining to this war between Russia and Ukraine. And as it seems like, one of our journalists, Mr. Tucker Carlson, was granted an interview to be done with Mr. Vladimir Putin, the president of Russia, and it wasn't an easy interview to basically partake in because he had to be pre-qualified to participate in an interview with a foreign leader, and they had to do all sorts of background checks on him and give him the credentials in order for him to basically interview their head of state in Ukraine. So he was the only one that basically was granted, as what I have understand. And I guess, he did, a relatively good job. It wasn't perfect, and I wasn't expecting for a perfect interview to take place. But I thought, based off of his journalistic experience and overall mentality from the U.S. and from a Western world, that he managed to deliver pertinent information and credible, valuable information for us U.S. taxpayers to make a decision on, because we are ultimately the decision makers on who we support as a country. We have our politicians that we elected, but basically we hire these politicians to basically look out for our best interests. And I was hoping that that would be the case also for some of our, news organizations in the U.S. But time and time again, uh, I keep, basically losing confidence in our national media industry in the U.S., especially the bigger, well-known and well-established media organization, because time and time and again, whenever I look for a news story pertaining to the Russian side, I'm not saying to take their side blindly. I'm saying I want to educate myself to understand what their overall opinion and their overall structure of influence within their market pertaining to the war, because I've heard quite a bit regarding the Ukrainian side. And as you all know, I'm the type that takes sides. I want to basically, as a decision maker myself and someone that does, executive level consulting, I try to understand and evaluate, certain conditions and heuristics that are interpreted by the decision maker pertaining to, a decision that they embark in. And even if I were to give them a solution on the best way to adequately engage on a decision making exercise, that I want to make sure that it's fair and balanced and they have the optimum level of information to base their decision in. So with that said, I'm gonna, share this, organization with Jimmy Dore. He's a satirist, YouTuber, which I find him somewhat funny, but it's not the funny that is comical funny. It's funny that it's like he's very intelligent in how they share material, so that someone that is not following the war intimately would find the information valuable and interesting enough, um, and also thought provoking enough. So there definitely is. I think Jimmy Dore and some of these YouTubers and independent journalists are recreating the market, the internet, in the industry in itself, the journalism industry in the U.S., in the Western world, as well as worldwide. They're definitely providing information that I was hoping I would be able to easily access from the regular, well-known multinational and also national news organizations, well-established news organization in the U.S. And like I said before, time and time again, it's like I'm having to look for a needle in a haystack on these type of news, sources pertaining to reporting both sides of the story, not just a one lump-sided side pertaining the war between Russia and Ukraine. That's never a good thing. You try, I mean, uh, so many people that aren't even covered have been talking about stopping the war and de-escalating the war, and they've even provided a solution on the best way to de-escalate the war and end it, so that no more people would have to suffer, and everybody in the region will return to normalcy. So with that said, what I'll do is I'll share this, quick segment with Jimmy Dore. It's quite funny, but very thought provoking. And I think the material in itself is very relevant. As he mentioned, some of the Western news organizations have yet to engage in, fact finding journalism interview or investigative journalism pertaining to an individual that have tried to assassinate Tucker Carlson before the interview that he did with Mr. Vladimir Putin. So the individual is actually of Russian nationality, and so basically, what the Russian government was arrested. They arrested them and put him in jail prior to successfully conducting his, evil, very nefarious, and stupid um, uh, action that he, basically fessed up on. So I'm just gonna, give you guys a quick overview of what Jimmy Dore had talked about on his show. I'm just going to piggyback off the show because I think it's interesting enough for you guys to listen to and kind of, interpret the, material yourself. I mean, I basically figured that to me, just because there's hardly any readily available information regarding on the Russian side. It's really hard to find these kinds of material in the Western media, which I'm very dissatisfied with and very disappointed about. Because, look, folks, if you want to stop a war, you find a way to solve it. You find a way to de-escalate the issue and the tension, the conflict. You don't, fan the flame. You don't, egg on people and try to get them to continue to engage in a conflict that it's not in their best interest to begin with. Neither side is in their best interest to engage in a war. In today's time, in the year 2024, war is never the answer. There's so many ways to de-escalate situations like these, and amicably solve the problems that they've been having. So with that said, I'm gonna just play this. The segment itself is fairly lengthy. It's about 17 minutes long, so I'm just gonna chop it up for you and have you guys listen to some of the pertinent information that they've been talking about, and I'll just kind of opine on what they were talking about to just expand a little bit on it. With that said, I'm gonna share my screen and have you guys listen to this issue. Okay.
Voice tweets out, confirmed a Russian working with the Ukrainian special services was tasked with assassinating Tucker Carlson on his visit to Moscow. Did you know this, Kurt?
No.
He was tasked with setting up an explosive device under a car located in the underground parking garage of the Four Seasons Hotel where Carlson was staying February 1st through 8th. The man was recruited by the main directorate of Ukraine during the month of November 2023 with a promised payout of $4 grand.
So that's $4 grand. All right, folks. So they try to pay the guy.
You get what you pay for.
Upon completion
of the task, he failed
Tucker Carlson from interviewing
and then was forced to confess after he was detained.
Mr. Putin for some reason.
So
he screwed that up. That's enough money to overthrow Venezuela. I don't know, one-man army.
So I don't know who, when this guy says confirmed, I don't know. Can you see if it's confirmed by any what they would call established news sources?
Authoritative sources.
Authoritative sources.
So there you go. Authoritative sources in the U.S. Hardly any major news organization in the States even tried to investigate this whole quote-unquote news story. Okay, so I mean, come on, folks. We can't possibly support anyone or anything or any conflict or anything pertaining to an endorsement of, an escalation to a conflict without any pertinent information as, for us Americans to learn about. And again, it's so hard to find these kinds of material. other than some of these independent news organization journalism, or YouTubers would have to basically move mountains and uncover whatever piece of earth they need to uncover in order for them to gain access to these kinds of information to share with us. So Jimmy Dore is, like I said, he's a somewhat of a satirist type of YouTuber, but he's very thought provoking and very intelligent in his interpretation. I agree majority to the majority of what they talk about, but like I said, unfortunately, there's not a lot of material for anybody to make a decision on. So I'll keep on playing this segment here and just have a quick listen. Just
authoritative sources, which is the siren emoji and the
He does have a siren
exclamation
emoji.
point sign, and of course the three shocked faces. So we have preliminary verification that the story is correct. We're just going to double check with authoritative sources.
We're just going to double check with the billionaire-owned people who lie to you about everything to make sure, see if they've reported this.
Because I got to say, if that is confirmed, I'd like to know where in the hell the money we sent to Ukraine went.
Or
If that's their big, that's what you allotted for the big hit.
Yeah. So he makes a couple of good points here. Patriot Voice says, is Ukraine Special Service really just the CIA, or are they working with the CIA?
A little column B.
And he says this means a foreign country, Ukraine, was involved in initiating an act of terror against a U.S. citizen.
Well, they killed one in prison. Why not do it?
They did, right. Ukraine already killed Gonzalo Lira.
A guy I never thought much of or liked or whatever, but I can't believe an American could be just tortured to death by a country we give money to. All the money we give, I should be able to say whatever the hell I want.
So let's watch this. Is that what's his name? His name is Vasilev.
Vasayev
Looks a lot like Vaseline.
Alexevich. Vaseline Alexevich.
They just interchanged those names. He was born in 1988 in Podolsk.
Podolsk.
And here's what he has to say. In November 2023, I was recruited by the main directorate of the intelligence of the Ministry of Defense of Ukraine via the internet. Oh, that's why the internet's bad. I was trained in working with special communications, collecting and detonating explosive devices, and working with ashes or caches?
At the Apex Technical Assassination Institute. You get to keep your own tools.
On
$4,000 a month.
On January 31st, according to him, I received a task from the curator to pick up an explosive device from a hiding place and use it to blow up a car. What was promised to you? Money, $4,000. Where the explosive device, wait. Where the explosive device was supposed to be used, where was it? He says, under the parking of the Four Seasons Hotel in Moscow, I was supposed to pick up the explosive device from a hiding place and place it under a car. Oh, God, they talk so fast, these Russians. Who was it planned to be used an explosive device against? I wasn't told. Do you know who the target was now? Yes, American journalist Tucker Carlson. What went wrong? I'm a moron.
Look at me, dude.
I didn't really graduate top of my class. I'm not Jason Bourne.
He looks like Dimitri Martin is what he looks like.
He does look like Dimitri Martin.
Dimitri, you did this? I just saw Dimitri. Now, I didn't know he's all jammed up.
I was detained at the preparation stage. I'm sorry for what I did. So there it is.
That's a real bizarre. I mean, I can't tell if it's
Does it surprise you, Kurt? No.
It's like such a.
They have
it's real off the books operation. It sounds like this one word is way off the books. For $4,000.
$4,000.
This is like the Venezuela, like, yeah, take a shot at it. Sir, I think for
remember Venezuela?
$4,000, and you give me 4 good men and some guns, and I will take over the entire nation of Venezuela's government tonight.
$4,000.
Let them try. before. Well, what is that in what it's their money called? Russia bucks?
So,
Bluebirds or something?
rubles?
Oh, not bluebirds, it's rubles.
So what's real unfortunate about this whole case is that I think that guy obviously needed some sort of funds, and he probably just down on out of his luck, and he's being exploited, and it's unfortunate that he actually tried to carry out that very evil, nefarious, stupid, you know very, I mean, outlandish and cowardly action towards an American citizen journalist who wants to gain access to the other side of the story regarding the Russian and Ukrainian conflict, so that he can share it with Americans that are paying tax, whose taxes are being sent to Ukraine to support a war that we don't even know why we're supporting. One, because we're not getting both sides of the story. Two is that they're not directly connected to the U.S. And when American citizens are being targeted um, overseas, I would think that somebody within our government would want to at least try to protect these journalists, American citizens that are trying to de-escalate the situation, um, between the Russians and Ukrainians. So, and I give kudos to Jimmy Dore for talking about this issue, even though it's somewhat satirish. But again, I believe that the material that he's sharing is very important and relevant regarding this whole conflict between Russia and Ukraine. So I'll have you listen more for maybe 6, 7 more minutes, and I'll try to opine on the rest of the material.
Is that what they use in Russia?
Yeah,
Is it?
I was close.
So,
4,000.
I wonder how Tucker feels about this.
Well, I'm just like, it's so bizarre that I'm like, if it's like a made up thing, what is the purpose of this? And if it is real, also, what's the purpose of that? Like, I don't understand any angle of this.
So what they're going to say is that this is Russian propaganda.
Oh,
that's what they'll say. That the Russians want to. The Russians are trying to turn the American people against the Ukrainian government by saying that the Ukrainian government put a hit on an American journalist. Even though they already killed.
They have a hit list.
They have a hit list.
No, that's just a list of people they don't like.
That's just the people, Lisa, they don't like.
You know perfectly well, Jimmy. No, that's not fair. If that was an American, somebody had a list like that of people who died and put red X's on it, we would totally take that as a light, humorous thing and not flip out and say it's literal threats of murder. We would be real cool about it. Ukraine's just having a few yucks. Have you heard them try to say it's not a kill list?
Yes.
They're just crossing up.
Yes.
Remember Sarah Palin? Somebody got shot at?
She put they put crosshairs on people, which is what you would see through a gun.
And I do believe her that they were like, "Oh, we're coming to get you for a hockey bomb," and people were like, "That is crazy. You could do that." Now the man was shot, and then they have where they actually X the person out after they're blown up. I mean, it's just bad shit.
So, is any mainstream news reporting this?
I haven't been able to find it.
Nobody's reporting this.
But okay, so that's
so
what
is this a hoax?
Real. See, if it's a hoax, well, no.
Wouldn't they be out there debunking the hoax?
Yeah, it's a good. I think so. Oh, look at Putin's pathetic attempt to show. Oh, see, I killed that guy, but they just tried to kill Carlson. See, and then he trots out this guy who looks like.
I bet you that's how the mainstream media is going to report this. That this is just propaganda by Russia.
I would assume they would, but if they're not reporting at all, then I'm like, that's more. I'm like, what?
Why are they not reporting it at all? You think?
See, that's exactly my point. Is that how come there's not any coverage regarding the size of the Russian, pertaining to the conflict? I mean, if this was a hoax, if this was Russian propaganda, then prove it. U.S. media, CNN, MSNBC, Fox News, prove that it's a hoax, so that we know what's going on. It's just strange and baffling to me that a war that's been an ongoing war for 2 years, and you know, thousands have died from both sides. The Ukrainian and the Russians have died, and even foreigners have died in this war that could have been prevented. And now it's even nearly close to impossible to get access to material like these guys are talking about. And I would think that these kind of information would be relevant to the American public, to the American taxpayers, because you know what? We have people in America, all right, that are living off paycheck to paycheck, busting their butt day in and day out in order for them to pay taxes. Some of them are not even able to, live a decent life in the U.S. and their money, their taxes are being sent off to a country that uh, are basically not even respecting Americans. They're not even respecting our contribution to their, initiative engaging in a war that could have been prevented. Okay, folks, this is just very troubling, to say the least. And look, I mean, this guys obviously they're not overly involved um, you know mainstream journalism per se. They are they're very independent in nature, and they tend to appeal to a certain segment of the population in the U.S. But I see this material and listen to it, and I believe it's very pertinent. It's very valuable. It's like what they had said. Why is the national news media not covering this kind of stuff? When I was running for the U.S. Senate back in 2020, no one covered my candidacy. I mean, I didn't even get the chance to compete virtually, even though the news media, national news media and state media in Virginia opened up the floor for a virtual debate between my opponents, a Republican and Democrat, and I run as an independent. I wasn't even given the opportunity to engage in a debate, even in just one. They had 3 debates. They didn't even let me talk in just one. And now there's this massive war that's happening overseas, and billions upon billions of money, U.S. tax dollar money and European, money being sent out to Ukraine, uh, and we're still left in the dark. We don't really know, the overall situation and relevant decision-making information uh, pertaining to this war between Russia and Ukraine. And so these guys are kind of, laughing things off, but I believe that they're extremely, credible, and they have a lot of valuable information and very intelligent material to share with the public. Even though it sounds like a satire, engagement with you, I think these guys are definitely much more effective in their, assessment, and are providing the market value, not just in the U.S. but worldwide. I think these guys are going to be helping de-escalate the situation between Russia and Ukraine. And want to give them a shout out, the Jimmy Dore Show, for providing lighthearted material regarding a very important and sensitive subject where the regular taxpayer can appreciate and be provoked to think outside the proverbial box that most people that have been basically working day in day out, they're stressed out already, and their money is being sent to a foreign country and they're not even aware of pertaining to the conditions that we decided to support. Anyway, let me finish this segment, and I'll have a few more thoughts to share with
It's the
you.
first time I'm hearing of it.
First I'm hearing of it
But
on my own show.
I am I am wondering about, who was that guy, the terrorist they brought to justice in Ukraine for the Nord Stream 2 bombing? You know?
Nobody.
Yeah, no, they got this one guy that was really corrupt that was in the low level government.
No, are you kidding?
Not at all. I thought you knew.
No.
Ladies and gentlemen, we got him, and he admitted to it, and he looked like a loser like this.
So the most we could say is that he's being detained under the suspicion, I think, of preparing a terrorist attack. A native of Podolsk. He said he's acting on. So this is.
Oh, is it his hoax and nobody else's? Like,
well, he's being detained.
Well, if you go and say I was going to kill this visiting person and all this, like, they're going to question you a little bit. I mean, they're going to be,
No,
they're
they
not
said
confident like our.
I don't think he turned himself in. They say, from what I keep reading on Twitter, is that he was detained at the preparation stage, which is different than the preparation H.
I was going to thank you for answering my next question. Is that different from?
So Tucker Carlson. We know that the security state, the United States NSA, and the CIA are monitoring him. They already released his texts.
Yeah, but, that was a very damaging interview to America. And I'll tell you why. Not because of anything Putin said, but just watch the whole him talking back and forth, and then immediately watch some video of any of your leaders from your country, and you will lose your mind.
Yes, I mean, because of how
we're
pathetic
children show hosts pretending to be leaders of things.
So
clearly we do.
So that kill list that they say isn't a kill list.
Yeah.
Is Myro Taveritz. I don't know how you say those
Myro
words.
Taveritz, freedom list.
Yeah, seriously. So I agree 100%. There's people in the U.S. media, okay, even Comedy Central, they're poking fun of the independent news organizations and independent reporters, journalists, commentators, and everybody else that are trying to help escalate the situation, to stop the war. What the heck is going on, folks? Why are these people, basically tagging American journalists that are independent and news sources in the States that are independent and organizations like Jimmy Dore and everybody else, commentators that are trying to de-escalate the situation between the Russians and the Ukrainians. I mean, every single one of these people that they're targeting are working their butts off to find relevant information to share with the American public so that this war could be ended for once and for all. We don't need any more people dying from either side. I mean, the region, Europe, in Eastern Europe and Central Europe, don't want for this war to keep on going because it's affecting, their communities. It's affecting their way of lives. It's affecting their markets. It's affecting their borders. You know what, folks? Why is the U.S. Specifically our national news organizations in the U.S. not wanting to share the Russian side of the story? I'm not saying to sugarcoat things. I'm not saying, to take their side. I'm just saying let's make things, fair and balanced for both sides. After all, we're sending money to Ukraine, billions worth of our taxes. We worked darn hard for that money, and we paid into our government, into our treasury, so that they can utilize the money that we pay with our taxes for values that we believe in, for democracy, for the rule of law, for freedom of speech, things that we value as Americans, the Western world, as people that come from various backgrounds in this world. Okay. Why are they silencing? Why are they not giving, organizations that are trying to de-escalate the situation that voice in the U.S.? I mean, I'm glad Twitter or X is allowing independent journalists, commentators, people that are opining to be fair and balanced regarding the war, that opportunity to share on their platform. But we need all these social media giants to open up the doors to fair and balanced reporting. I mean, seriously, folks, social media giants is the new normal. They're the new world market journalism industry platform where people should be, or can or should be allowed to opine their opinions. There's this American journalist, Gonzalo Lira, who shared his thoughts and views regarding, his overall assessment of the war between Russia and Ukraine. And he basically, used independent sources that were credible. And he was persecuted for it. I mean, it's just like, I don't understand what's going on, to be honest. It's like the West is becoming the East and the East is becoming the West on the way that we're engaging. Okay. It's just unbelievable that this kind of crap is happening in the year 2024, folks. War is never the answer to anything. We don't need more lives to be snuffed out by a war that could have been prevented. A lot of people have been devastated by this war, not just from the Ukrainian side, but also from the Russian side, and even within other countries. Okay, folks, it's just not at a war that should persist. It needs to be stopped immediately. Okay, unbelievable. I mean, I'm running out of words to even use this because I'm so freaking dumbfounded by this very unproductive and irresponsible national news media, ignorance of wanting to cover relevant, valuable information and pertinent information for the American public to decide whether they want to have their U.S. taxes to be sent to a country that is not directly connected to the U.S. Okay. So here is some more.
So if Ukraine did this, a lot of people are going to speculate this was the CIA trying to take out.
This lame?
Yes.
Oh, what am I saying?
Yes.
We're trying to get Castro 600 times, right?
Yeah.
Number 6. Can you imagine if you're Castro? Like, at what point would you maybe just get? To be fair to
Sorry, my signal is
Castro,
coming in and out. I don't
guy.
know. Something
You
strange
think
is
you might get a
happening
little
to my
paranoid by,
signal.
like, I don't know, the 400th time?
Look what the CIA. Look how bad they did the Bay Pigs. Look how many times they tried to kill Castro. Really, it was several hundred times, right?
Well, they've protected us, after the one thing with 9/11.
And then look how lame their last Venezuela coup attempt was.
Well, I thought that was like, you're always looking for a deal, and like, I know a guy says he could do this, and it's like, okay, you add up, like, what do we lose if, hey, maybe he does it? We have total deniability if it fails, right?
Yeah, yes.
Like he looks like Lee Harvey Oswald. Like
he does. He looks like a patsy, right?
he looks like he's got patsy face.
He's got patsy face. This
When
guy.
I just saw Dimitri, and by the way, he still looks.
I mean, and the guy, he's an all right guy. He's okay. I think he's just, hard pressed with his luck, and he didn't have the resources that he needs, and he thought that engaging in a very evil and stupid, action against another human being was the answer. And I'm glad that the Russians managed to apprehend him and bring him back to his senses, because it's so unfortunate that these kind of stuff are still happening. It's no longer, look, we're not in 1936 and 1941 anymore, folks. I mean, these kind of crap shouldn't be happening anymore. If people are economically struggling and going through hardship, and the world needs to help them develop capacity, all this money that we've been sending to various countries that could have been saved and not have to, engage in conflict, like a war conflict. The main reason is because they're hard pressed on a lot of their economic capacity. They're looking for resources. They need help. So let's help them by building their capacity, and not exploiting some, guys and, women that they need help with. They just simply are just you know out of their luck, and it's unfortunate. So let's try to help build them up. Um, Anyway, let me finish off this segment. It's got about 4 more minutes to go, but I thought I have this quick opinion regarding what they were saying about this guy. I mean, he looks like he's just up against the wall, and he unfortunately he thought you know the quick solution would be engaging in a really stupid nefarious activity against another human being. Tucker Carlson was brave enough to want to engage in a fact finding and solution providing interview to de-escalate the situation between Ukraine and Russia. He himself had covered Gonzalo Lira's case, and Gonzalo Lira was basically imprisoned for sharing his opinion and views regarding the war. And unfortunately, he had died, and I don't know what happened to his remains. I heard he was cremated against the will of his family, who had initially wanted for his body to be, investigated and checked for any, wrongdoing or whatever. But they ended up, the Ukrainians decided to cremate his body. And so I don't know if the family, Gonzalo Lira's family, had received his remains yet. Or whatever's left of it. Anyway, I'll have you guys listen to this more, and then I'll wrap things up and opine on the last point that they had mentioned in this segment.
Same age the last time I saw him, but
That's amazing, isn't it?
yeah, I was like, it's crazy. Dimitri has
He's constantly 28 years old. You mean?
He's got the same haircut as that guy,
Let's look.
and the same, and like I think better skin.
I mean, Dimitri has better skin.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
the same sweatshirt,
Same sweatshirt for sure.
fancy look.
I don't think I've ever had a conversation with Dimitri Martin.
Oh, he went to some high school in the town I did.
Oh, really?
He went to the slightly richer high school we called Heroin High, because that's where all the good heroin was coming through. And
I think
I was in Pregnancy Point.
We both taped our half-hour specials at the same time in like 2003 or whenever that was.
I was on his show, and he put me on. He had a thing called pube security, where like you have nice stuff you don't want a thief to take, so they come in, like I'm the guy with pubes, like they have like the hats. When they come in, they have tweezers and they pull off a pube and put it on your valuables. So the guy's like, I'm not touching that. And the whole challenge of the acting was I had to like not overdo it when he plucks.
Uh-huh.
Like not,
Yeah.
that's even too much I just did. I'm rusty.
So no, anybody else finding out? Nothing, huh? On Twitter, everybody's talking about it. A lot of people talk about it on Twitter. Oh, Simon Ateba, he reports it. Attempted assassination of Tucker Carlson. A man has just been arrested in Moscow, accused of being paid. So he's legit.
Well, yeah, so he was arrested for it and he's being accused of it, and that's all we can say for sure.
Yeah.
And the rest is just really fun speculation about a guy who looks like my friend from back in the day, Dimitri Martin. Look at this young Dimitri.
Oh, Tucker Carlson has tweeted about it.
So he did?
Tucker Carlson says, so a CIA-backed Ukrainian intel officer is now telling us that actually Navalny died of natural causes. You've got to wonder what's going on here. It's pretty obvious. Really.
Did you read the headline?
He died of a blood clot. That's what Tucker is tweeting out. Let's see.
He died of the safe and effective.
So I haven't seen Tucker tweet about this. Have you?
Mhm.
No. Okay.
I'm just staring into the would-be
Tucker's out there.
eyes.
He's doing real journalism that bothers people. You're doing real journalism when you're making powerful enemies.
Well, Jon Stewart made a great point where he goes, "Oh, a real journalist is going to go talk to Putin." Oh, what a good point. Hey, why doesn't any of those great journalists go talk to him? It's crazy that Tucker, the worst journalist in the world, is going. You would think the best journalist who's qualified to go.
Jon Stewart.
Thank you, Jimmy. Rather, exactly that. You saw his great work with Hillary Rodham Clinton.
I saw his great work that Jon Stewart did.
And what I liked about it was he was tough but fair. He didn't let him push him around like a stupid punk, with some Putin-esque propaganda. He held his ground. He said, hey, what about our blood and treasure? Will someone please think of the blood and treasure of our empire?
Okay, so there it is. We'll see what the fallout of this is. I'm interested. Hey, come see us live on.
All right, folks. Yeah, so Twitter basically is the only social media platform that have yet or have decided actually to allow these kinds of conversations to take place. And it's very troubling when a bunch of very powerful organizations in the U.S. would silence these kinds of engagement and conversation to equalize, the information sharing regarding the conflict. Um, Look, folks, this world has got plenty of history already about the war, conflict, about all sorts of crap, with a lot of, needless people dying throughout human history. The world's never run out of conflict, okay, back in the days. Why are we trying to bring back the past? I mean, I seriously don't understand that. Markets can be built, opportunities can be developed, economies can grow, without people having to engage in a war conflict, right, folks? I mean, your brain capacity, if you know how to use your brain, will create opportunities. We'll look at various sources of productive, ways to develop capacity. Unless you're too stuck on stupid to use your brain. When you're stuck on stupid, then you're just basically just gonna go with the flow. You're just gonna let people, tell you what to do and follow like a freaking mindless sheep, and you know just operate like a mindless zombie. Okay, folks. Why is the news organizations in the US not wanting to help de-escalate the situation between Russia and Ukraine? Why are they not interested in ending this conflict? Yes, I understand that they're making money off of the conflict so that they can, keep on reporting whatever they want to report. But folks, come up with another way to develop your revenue stream. People are dying, countries are being destroyed, regions are being disrupted. Thousands and thousands of people have been uprooted and moved to places that they never even heard of because of this war conflict. On top of that, our taxes, American taxes, that could have been used to develop the US market, to build our capacity, to provide support to those that are in need in our country, and even some of that money could be sent to another country to help build their capacity. I've got no problems with that, but don't let them get involved in a war, folks. Because the war is never an answer to anything. Not in this time and age. Okay, folks. So with that said, I'm going to go ahead and sign off from this point of my podcast. Let me make sure that my mic doesn't fall because it's basically riding on a top of a box. But all right, folks. Thanks for listening. I look forward to our next conversation. Take care.